Commander Zekthara had broken thousands. His reputation preceded him across 17 star systems, whispered in the trembling voices of survivors, and carved into the nightmares of those who dared oppose the hegemony. When the High Council needed information extracted, they sent Zekthara. When they needed spirits crushed and wills shattered, they sent Zekthara. When they needed someone to make the very concept of resistance seem foolish, they sent their best. So when the first human prisoner was captured after the devastating defeat at Kepler 442, the choice was obvious. The human sat shackled in the interrogation chamber, a modest-looking creature with pale skin and dark hair. Nothing about Captain Sarah Chen suggested she was anything more than another primitive biped from a backwater world. The hegemony's initial assessment had been clear. Humans were physically weak, technologically inferior, and psychologically fragile. Their homeworld had been conquered in mere days. This should be routine. Zekthara's mandibles clicked in satisfaction as he entered the chamber. His forearms gestured to the array of neural disruptors, pain amplifiers, and psychological manipulation devices that lined the walls. Each tool had been perfected over millennia of conquest. "I am Zekthara, breaker of minds, harvester of truth," he announced, his translator rendering the words in the human's crude language. "You will tell me everything about your species' remaining military installations, hidden colonies, and resistance networks." The human looked up at him with an expression he couldn't quite interpret. Not fear. He was intimately familiar with fear. Not defiance either, though there was steel in her eyes. Something else. Something that made his secondary nervous system twitch. "Commander Zekthara," she said, her voice steady. "I've heard about you. Your reputation precedes you. This was promising. Fear was always easier to work with than ignorance. Then you know resistance is futile. Your mind will be laid bare before me. The only variable is how much suffering you endure in the process." The human, Chen, according to her file, leaned back in her restraints. "I'm curious about something first. In all your interrogations, all your sessions, have you ever once asked yourself if the information you extract is worth the cost?" Zekthara's head tilted. It was an odd question, but interrogations often began with the subject's attempt to establish psychological control. He had seen it countless times. "Cost?" His laugh was like grinding metal. "The cost is borne by the weak. I am beyond such concerns. Are you?" Chen's voice carried a note of genuine interest. "I've studied your species' psychology, your neural structure, the way your mind processes trauma, both inflicting it and witnessing it. Tell me, Commander, do you dream?" The question hit him like a neural disruptor blast. How could she know about the dreams? The faces that haunted his sleep cycles, the voices that whispered in frequencies only he could hear. No one knew about those, no one. "Your silence tells me everything," Chen continued. "The hegemony doesn't care about the psychological cost to its own operatives, does it? They just keep sending you back, keep having you break minds and spirits, never once asking what it's doing to you." Zekthara activated the first pain inducer. Electrical current coursed through Chen's restraints, enough to make most species convulse in agony. She tensed, her jaw clenched, but her eyes never left his. "I've felt worse," she said when the current stopped. "Physical pain is finite, Commander. It has limits. But psychological wounds, the damage we do to ourselves by hurting others, that's infinite. That's the real torture." "You know nothing about torture," Zekthara snarled, increasing the intensity. "I know everything about it," Chen gasped, but continued speaking. "I know that every time you break someone, you break a piece of yourself. I know that you've become so good at inflicting suffering because you're intimately familiar with it. I know that somewhere deep in your mind, there's a part of you that screams every time you pick up those tools." The pain inducer was at maximum now. Chen's body shook with the force of it, but her voice remained clear. "I know that the hegemony found you as a child. I know they took you from your family and made you into this. I know you remember your birth name, the one you're forbidden to speak. I know you remember your clutch siblings and wonder if they're still alive." Zekthara's hand froze over the controls. How could she possibly know these things? The hegemony's files were classified beyond any human clearance level. "Your real name is Zekthara Ven Solthari," Chen whispered. "You were born on Corvin Prime. Your clutch name was Little Light, wasn't it? Because your scales caught the sun differently than your siblings." The interrogation chamber seemed to spin around him. Those memories were buried, locked away behind decades of conditioning and neurochemical suppression. No one alive knew those details. No one. Stop, he whispered. Your youngest clutch sister had a pattern of silver spots along her dorsal ridge. You used to count them when she couldn't sleep after the storm seasons. Her laugh sounded like, "Stop!" Zekthara's roar echoed through the chamber. All four arms trembled as emotions he'd thought dead surged through his consciousness. How do you know these things? Chen looked at him with something that might have been compassion. Because we know what it's like to lose everything, Commander. We know what it's like to be remade into something we never wanted to become, and we know what it's like to find our way back. You're lying. Psychological manipulation. I'm immune to— Your sister Velnara is alive, Chen said quietly. She's a xenobotanist on Corvin Prime. She still keeps a photo of you as children. She never stopped hoping you'd come home. Zekthara collapsed into the examiner's chair, his massive frame suddenly seeming small and broken. She's alive? The hegemony told you your entire family died in a rebel bombing. They lied. It's what they do, Commander. They take children and convince them they have nothing left but service to the state. For the first time in 40 standard years, Zekthara felt tears form in his eyes. The dam of suppressed memory and emotion that the hegemony had built in his mind cracked, then shattered completely. What have I done? His voice was small, lost. What they made you do, Chen said gently. But it doesn't have to define what you do next. When the guards found them 3 hours later, they discovered something unprecedented in hegemony records. Their greatest interrogator was on his knees before the human prisoner, repeating a single phrase over and over. Please, tell me how to stop. Please tell me how to be who I was meant to be. The human had not only resisted interrogation, she had done something the hegemony thought impossible. She had reminded a monster that he had once been a person. Chen looked up at the shocked guards with a slight smile. I believe the commander would like to discuss terms for his defection. In that moment, the hegemony learned what humans truly excelled at. Not just warfare or technology or even survival, but the one thing that could topple empires built on cruelty. The power to help others remember their humanity, even when they thought it was lost forever.